Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Jungle Brothers podcast. Joe and Pauly here. Today I'm quizzing you, Pauly, on why, being so busy and already having a million things on your plate, you decided to go back to university. Let's get into it.
Bye. So I was just telling Joe off air that when he said, "Hey, I want to do an episode about this," I was like, "Okay, yeah, fuck yeah, cool. I'll take some time to reflect on the answer to that question." And then I didn't, and I was like, "Oh, let's just do it live on air." Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope you'd have a response of some sort.
I have, but I guess I haven't really. You remember like when we first opened the business, and people used to ask us about the gym. And it took us some years to really figure out who we were and really get the elevator pitch going. I haven't got the elevator pitch going yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And not to say that I'm trying to sell anything, but in many ways it's my own, I've been drawn towards it and I'm still figuring it out along the way.
Yeah, fair, eh? Yeah. So, let's just set the stage with your, prior to going back to university, current obligations as a human. What were they?
3 kids, Tash, wife, family life, gym here. And inside the gym, we got the 2 businesses. That is the Botany Gym itself and running this place, and then the Jungle Alliance. And then, PT. I always see it as 3 businesses because they do compete and they're tough. And that's just being an individual coach and, programming for people, doing one-to-one coaching, etc. So there's that. And then, last year I started coaching soccer as an assistant coach, and that's continued through the summer. A few things going on.
So safe to say that you didn't have a lot of spare time. I don't think anyone with 3 kids that's running 3 small businesses is really sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
No.
From what I observed, actually, before I get to that, you've always had been a student. You've always seemed to like studying. I remember you were studying cinematography for that period. Tell me about that. Is it something that you've always you've liked being in that education process?
I've met people who definitely identify and are that person. I don't think that I am that person. I've only done spells of, EDU, institutionalized style. I haven't been a great student for anything that I'm not really excited about, obviously, but I guess it's just come from, wanting something and then knowing that is the pathway to getting there. So I wouldn't say I'm like that natural person who did a degree there and a fucking cert here. And we all know that person.
The serial student.
Yeah, you're like, fuck, stop studying, bro.
My sister's one of those.
Just
can't get enough fucking degrees under her belt.
Yeah, so,
Fair enough, yeah. I guess it's always seemed outstanding to me because I've never sought formal education out after finishing school. I've done plenty of courses and shit, but I've never gone and enrolled in a proper course. And and so say even when you did that with cinematography, I was like, wow, you're going to a college. That's cool. What, you just went and signed up for that,
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is what we're working on, and then now you're at university and it's like, wow, I can't even imagine going to university. I'd be fucking ripping it up if I was there.
Oh yeah.
Just so you know.
Unibar. Look, I think when I think about yourself, you are I think you've always been a student. In many ways, you've been the best student. I've learned a lot from you and the way that you have seeked knowledge and to scratch your itch and to understand something and follow your curiosity and be disciplined enough to like join something, read a book, read lots of books, training, turning up, finding mentors. Bro, you are a student. You've always been that student.
Thanks, bro.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, and I fully accept that. It's just that the nature of how
Yeah. So like to me, I wouldn't say I do that as well. I can get obsessive with things and I will read about something and go, deep with something like anyone that has a hobby or an interest. But I think that I need more of a framework and a bit more accountability to be able to do that. I know I like to, be in a course that I've selected with a degree of trust in the people who are delivering it so that I can, somewhat outsource the journey for that. So in many ways, it brings a lot of ease to my learning. I'm like, okay, this is the course, this is the outcome, and they're reputable. I'm just going to start at the front and just like ride the wave. So in many ways, it kind of, it makes it a little bit easier. So, fucking uni. I did go to uni for, was it 3 or 4 semesters back in the day? Or maybe it was more. I can't even remember because it was about, I don't know, I want to say about 14 years ago.
Yep.
It was more than 10 because I couldn't hold on to my credit points. After 10 years, they don't count for shit.
Oh, wow.
And I deferred and I didn't finish it. But yeah, lots changed since then.
What were you studying then?
It was a Bachelor of Arts,
Right.
Cultural Studies major.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I have had...
What's cultural studies?
Fuck, can't remember. It was 14 years ago. Yeah, it's pretty broad stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And
is it like kind of anthropology and...
It's very wide. So there's a lot of subjects that you could choose.
Okay.
But I was like, a lot of it's like social studies.
Okay.
A lot of social studies. But God, I did, you start doing a semester of critical thinking. I did creative writing for a semester as well. Like there's a lot that you can do while you're building towards, your major.
Okay.
I never got that far.
And so like to then bring it to now, like what are you studying right now? What's the course?
It's a health science degree at Western Sydney University, and I'm registered for a public health major and a health promotions major, but I think the double major, I didn't know. I just pressed the buttons. It looked good. I'm mainly doing the public health major, and maybe I'll see through to the double.
Okay. And a double major what does that equal? Is that a double degree? Or
I think so. I don't know. Actually have no idea. Like a lot of it I don't understand how the system works.
Yeah.
But because I have a bit of a goal in mind. I just want to do the thing that helps me get to the goal. I'm not like 17, like my mum's telling me, get the degree so I can get a job, to get a job and then just be on my way in life type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just following my nose, but I think it's a double major. I think it's 1 degree double major. Don't really know.
Fucking double major.
Yeah.
My mate's going to become a doctor.
That's right.
Fucking that's what's up. People are like, what's Paul? Medicine or some shit. How good.
Yeah.
And so tell me then, like, what's the full-time, part-time, what's the demand on your schedule?
Started part-time first semester, did full-time this one that just passed. I'd like to do full-time all the way through just to, condense how long it's going to take to get through it. So yeah, I'll hope to go, I'll do part-time over the summer. And then I'll go full-time again and just trying to work out with Tash and just the household finances, blah, blah, blah. How can I study full-time till the end? So that's just working that out with the household.
Can I ask, roughly, what does it cost you financially to study?
Bro, I didn't even look at it, but...
Are we talking like thousands of dollars a year?
I think the whole degree is like 40 to 60K.
Wow.
Is that right? I don't know. People are probably screaming at the fucking speaker right now going, it's this. I think it's about depending on the module that you're doing, it's like around 2K, just under or just over per subject.
Right.
And so how many subjects do you need to do to get a degree? You do one subject is 10 credit points. And then you've got to get 240 credits for a degree.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then they're like, and you have to do these. You have to do these.
It's 48K. Going off.
Yeah. It's something like that. But we didn't talk about the interest.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck?
Laters.
But fascinating, right? Because, just I think a consideration for anyone, particularly with if you have a family, is like, okay, well, what's the cost? Like, how much money is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm guessing the government has ways of helping you with that.
I'm hexing it.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. I'm going to start trying to put some pennies into an account so that, it's not too heavy.
Have you tried crypto? You can 10x that shit. And then when you 10x that, you 5x that shit. And then you invest that in. I'll put you onto the best Instagram account.
I want to be like full-time study and then crypto. I just want to be a fucking goblin in the middle of the night writing assignments. And
fucking
just like
cha-ching, cha-ching. You just be paying VAs to do your assignments for you.
Oh, God.
Just watching the crypto dollars roll in.
I think I'd probably leave the degree.
What drove you to do it?
Sure. So
what made you go, I'm fucking taking this on now at this stage of my life?
Yeah. So I guess really the sharpest turning point, which was so fucking clear to me, was when Mum passed away last year. My mum passed away a year ago. She had complications with diabetes. And on that day when I was here and I was driving out, an ambulance was called to the house, I knew straight away in my head. And I will try not to well up here, but I'm really soft these days. I knew that I was going to do not exactly this degree, but I knew that I was going to answer the call, if you put it that way. And so I was kind of saying that to myself in the mirror as I was driving out there, and I was ringing my family like to let them know what was going on, because Sarah was at the house, and anyway, I knew at that moment so clearly that was going to happen. So that week turned into the funeral week, or 2 weeks, I should say. And in that time, it's like right there at the front of my mind. And I'm like feeling everything at the same time, as well as I'm fucking doing this. I'm gonna do it. I can't wait to get into it, which is really strange. Wasn't until about the third night that I allowed myself to scratch the itch, and it was like 2 a.m. I just got back from all the kind of cultural obligations at the house, came back home, and I was like, I'm doing it. Went online and just started Googling and going through the process of checking back in with this call that I just kind of referred to, and then trying to figure that out. And very quickly I came to doing this, and I was like, okay. And I head on to that for about 5 or 6 days, and then I told Tash, and she was all about it.
Answering the call. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. And so I think part of me was always wanted to work with Pacific Islanders or just Fijians. I love Fiji. I'm Fijian Tongan descent. I think you call me second generation, technically. Am I first? Parents were migrants. I was born here. And, my kind of background, and without going too deeply into it now, you can ask me about it. I was brought up a certain way. Mum is a minister, was a minister, and, a big community person, did a whole bunch of stuff in her life. But in general, I find Islanders are very community driven. They're very reliant on each other, and they have a lot of cultural practices around helping each other out, helping each other survive and thrive. And there's been some of that in me all the time, but I haven't really spent my adult and working life around and inside of that culture. But it's something that I really love and appreciate. And I think that I always wanted to do some sort of work there or just spend my time in it, if you want to put it that way.
In Fiji or with Pacific, or with the community here or any?
Any.
So that call that you refer to was kind of something within you where it was like you've known you've always wanted to contribute more
Absolutely.
to that part of your sort of identity.
And I'll tell you when I realized it more clearly was when I transitioned from the film industry to this one, which I still say was the hardest part of my life because I was just in a fucking really rock and a hard place. Had the 2 kids, too much travel with film, and knowing that I needed to do something, I wanted to do something else so I could kind of have a bit more of control over my own lifestyle, and then training to work inside the business that we had created, and then just coming over into it. That whole thing was so taxing for me mentally because, in short, it was like 2 massively different identities for me, and I wasn't sure if this was my identity that I was going into or whether I was forcing myself to do it. I was like, fuck, am I going to hate this? And it was really tough, plus just like the doing 2 jobs at the same time and waiting for the right moment to make the leap type of thing. It was very stressful. Anyway, if you remember back, I was like, boys, I think I need a fucking life coach. You know, these life coaches, I need a fucking coach. And I was just whinging about it. And it was because I just needed help and guidance. I remember at that time I was talking about it for like 6 months, and the next thing, T found a life coach.
He did.
Do you remember?
Yep.
And I was like, fuck you, T.
And he just made him seem like the coolest guy.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck you. I wanted one of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended
T
up...
needed it more.
Yeah.
Still does.
So I ended up reaching out to Drew, who was our business coach, and said, bro, do you know a life coach? And of course, true to Drew, was like, hey, he called me back later and was like, actually, I don't usually mention this to people, but I don't take many people on, but I'm actually a life coach as well. And I'm really passionate about doing this. Tell us why that's funny, Joe.
Like Drew was a business coach, but if you really boiled down what he was great at, he was a great sales coach.
Yeah.
And he could sell you anything. And his ability to notice a scenario where there's the option to sell something and then go, okay, I'm going to make something to sell right now. I've been sold some shit. And to be honest, you very rarely regret buying it. He was pretty good at delivering what he sold. But yeah, you know that he's like not a life coach anymore, but that you had that conversation and he's like, can I fit that in? Have I got a product? Yeah, I can string some shit together.
Yeah, yeah.
But amazing, right. So he was the guy, you went on a process with him.
Yeah, like he sent me all the modules and I just had to send, weekly assignments to him. Not sure if he read them or not. He didn't, it was all automated and I was quite mature and somewhat very aware of myself and my situation. I was really ready. He didn't have to do much. So I just gobbled everything up. And anyway, I would say it was transformative for sure. Like, wow. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I've recommended this sort of thing for people in the past who are at that point and don't have the kind of tools to be able to self-analyze and, find the information and blah, blah, blah. But at that time, I had to do a bunch of fucking exercises. And in short, you're finding your purpose and, you're finding your values and then your purpose sort of thing. And, you're finding out the people that you want to help, and you go through this process of, like I said, finding your values and then stripping it back to things that you're good at, things that you enjoy and blah, blah, blah. And all came down to, and I think what it often does is you end up finding that you want to help yourself, people who are like yourself that have gone through things like you, and it kind of ends up being that way for a lot of people. So it was like I want to work in community work and I want to work with, young Pacific Island people, and that's kind of fucking 10 years ago that happened. And
Wow.
and I was like, okay, I've done this exercise 2 or 3 times since then from the beginning, and it always ends up the same result. And so the call is basically, some sort of, whatever you want to call it, purpose in life, what you were put here to do, or holy shit.
Oh, shit, it's Fiji calling. Hey, Bullet guys, not now.
Just switches languages. But yeah,
That's Drew.
yeah.
He's calling to sell you some shit.
It's been in here for fucking 8 years. But yeah, so it is like knowing back then that's kind of where my life wants to end up, because it keeps coming up there, is like, that's where I'm going to be the happiest, which is helping people with something. And those particular people are these people from where I came. And that's basically that. And also there's that. It was a really good exercise because it's that what do they call, the law of attraction type stuff as well, which is, once you realize that and you articulate it to a degree, then you carry on in the world kind of knowing that information, and slowly, like over time, I've noticed that I'm slowly, ever so slowly moving towards that somehow. And that's where I was like, well, coaching, and I fucking hated it. I was like shaking in front of people, trying to deliver nervously a program to them in the beginning. Public speaking was something, I'm not great at it now, but God, sitting on the podcast, like all this stuff was really difficult for me. And I was like, this is something that I need to actually work on. So part of the person that I wanted to become was a better orator. And I was like, at the very least, this is going to help me develop my skills, being able to work with people, etc. And that's kind of, how I reconciled that really difficult move. And that's how that idea, it's not really an idea, but where I allowed that deep call to kind of come up into something more articulated.
Wow, that's powerful, bro. Yeah, it's powerful to hear you talk about that, coming to that, or making that declaration to yourself when you were driving to your mother as she was dying. I remember when you came back, and I remember you obviously, we spoke that day, you told me it happened, but then you can't remember when you told me, maybe it was a couple of days later, but you're like, you told me that story like a couple of days later, like, bro, as I was fucking driving there, I knew I was going to do this thing. What I understood in part from that there was something too that was connected to her wish for you to be involved with Pacific Islanders, or it was in maybe not her wish explicitly, but a continuation of her mission. Is there something connected to that?
Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, my mum, like, she's a woman of few words, really few words, and very much an action taker. She just lets her actions speak. And so, she doesn't give a lot of feedback. Like, to me, like, going into our full relationship, paint a small picture, I'm the last of 8 kids. By the time we got to me, like, she's celebrating.
Done.
She's done. And that was how she taught us, which was, it was by leading by her own example. And, she'd give you little tiny bits of feedback, what she says or what she doesn't say, that lets you know kind of who she is and what she's all about, right? Where she takes interest in and where she doesn't. I think you're always, in part, everyone's trying to, or maybe you can tell me if this is true. Is some part of us always trying to look for approval from our parents?
I think so.
Yeah. Or whoever that parent figure was for you.
Yeah. That's fair.
So I think, so what she did and her interests and stuff has always, like, been deeply embedded with me. Like, basically, my moral compass has just come from mum without her saying fucking boo.
Yeah.
Like, you just know that would not be, that's not like the coolest. This is like, I'm doing some stupid shit when I'm a teenager, but it's like, this is what it's really about. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, she had this mission, you know, and I worked in the film industry for a long time and had dreadlocks. I did everything that she didn't want to see.
Right. Because she's like film industry, like what's that bring into the world?
Yeah, you know, and so, you know, she'd always be like,
Oh, Mum, haven't you seen Avengers and shit?
I know, look at all those happy kids. But, you know, she'd always worried about whether I was doing okay or not. It's a bit like your mum with the gym, actually.
Like financially, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like, are they stable? Is the work stable and stuff like that? She didn't really like know that much about it. And I'd always reassuring her, no, I'm good. I'm in a good position.
Your boys made it, Ma.
Yeah, you must made it.
You want to buy yourself something nice? Your money's not good here. Oh, wait, that's Scarface. There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, like, what am I trying to say? I think that, yeah, I've kind of somehow come around to realize, you know, what I hold in high value, which happens to be very much what she's instilled in me. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, bro. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't be any clearer, to be honest.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think it's incredible.
I haven't done anything yet, though.
Sure. No, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. Yeah, it's in the same way that like you feel underqualified to talk about most things, you kind of feel like you need to have mastered or fully pursued that thing first, which as we know is kind of a little bit
not useful.
Yeah, because it takes a fucking long time and like share the journey kind of thing.
Yep.
But, you know, if this is as far as it goes for you in the health sciences journey,
Yep.
amazing to at least have started on this path, right? Was there ever a deliberate link, like was getting into fitness and owning the gym and opening that and stuff linked with this idea? Like, did you have a plan where it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this and get good at this and those skills are going to help me with that later?
No, I have thought about this and people have asked me that in this year, but honestly, the gym thing was a blessing that this happened this way.
To use your mother's words.
Yeah. But really, like, we could have been in a carpentry business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at the point that we jumped in, I would just wanted a side hustle business adventure with you guys.
Yeah.
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
Come further down the track to figure out, you know, what I want to do. Like, I feel so grateful that I ended up in something that's really meaningful, and it is meaningful to every single human being in the world. Like, health is arguably the most important thing. Or you could say relationships is the most important thing, but we're living in this vessel, in this body, and how fortunate that you guys said come and have a meeting at fucking Faux 247 on Newtown King Street. Remember that day?
Is that where it was?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And it was like, we've got a proposal for you. And so, yeah, it was happenstance. It was awesome, you know, because, you know, that's kind of where I'm moving towards, you know, knowing that I want to do some sort of work here with these people, but what am I doing? Well, it's health.
Yeah, and there's clearly a great transferability between the skills that you've developed here
Yes.
and what you will need on this next chapter.
Yeah.
Mate, it's awesome. Last thing I want to ask you about it is 3 kids, not particularly old, you know, all like school, like all primary school age at this point.
Yep.
two startup like this gym and then Alliance, which is startup business, doesn't make any money, right? You don't get paid to do that. Can you just talk on the fear of embarking on another thing that is also going to take up time, energy, money for a long time before it produces?
Yeah. I've thought about this a little bit because I don't feel that. I mean, I see the limitations and the challenges ahead, but I don't see it that way. And I think what I think is it's very much a lot of Fijians that I've met. I think it's kind of a Fijian thing because you've met heaps of islanders. Think about how many of those islanders just present as fucking ageless. Have you seen you're like, they never age.
Yeah.
They can keep their humor. We can keep our humor and kind of interest in life until old age. And I think that keeps them young. The adventure stays alive for a long time. And any possibility is a possibility at any stage in life. And sometimes that's, to the downfall of the island person. But I look at some cousins that I've got and some family members who just switch life. They will move over here, and if you look closely at my relatives that have come over here, they've come over and started a new life at 50 and 45, and they start training to be a nurse, and then they're a nurse, and then they get their visa. And I think that it's just come from being around people who don't have the same constructs that, hey, you do something, you study to that, and then you do that thing. I think that that's honestly what it is. It's not a traditional path where, you just go up the ladder in one direction. It's like whatever the thing that you want to do or wherever the river kind of takes you, you make the best out of that thing and you just do it. I want to give you an example of someone that I know, that you know as well, but I can't think of that person.
I can understand it though very clearly from how you put that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, because I think if you compare that to say say more like what my upbringing would have been in that regard, it's kind of expected that you'll go through a process of education, then you'll move into a career, and then that's more or less what will define the rest of your life.
Yep.
And you'll buy a home and you'll have family, and that's sort of it.
Yes.
There's not even this sort of sense that you could fucking do any of that at any stage, and you could just uproot and then go move over there and
Yep.
Take up a new thing of education because that career wasn't,
Yes, yeah.
Whereas we all know that now, but I think how did you frame it? You're like our conditioning is such, like the Anglo conditioning.
Yep.
Is that it's like this linear kind of milestones.
And probably also I don't have a household, all my siblings and stuff, and my parents that followed those paths that set that kind of order of things before me anyway. So I guess in my mind, anything goes. Like we're all just making whatever we need to make happen, create stability, create a life for yourself in whatever way that you can and what works. Those patterns and those formulas weren't really set for me. Those expectations weren't there.
Yeah. Mate, unreal. I'm stoked to hear, it's lovely to hear you talk about it. And I'm really happy that you're embarking on that, from that point where you said, I'm going to do this and now you're doing it. And, I see the hustles, the fucking weeks where you're swamped in assessments and shit and still trying to get to the gym and do that piece. And yeah, it's super impressive and I'm stoked for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate you wanting to talk about it. And I do hope to share more about kind of what I'm actually studying and stuff in the future.
Once you figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Ledge.
Okay, sick.
Thanks, G. Thanks, guys. Catch you on the next one.